Hey, artsy friends. I am working on starting my third composition art journal. I'm going to show you what I've done so far. Here are my first two art journals that I have completed. I have flipped through videos and process videos for all of these if you're interested. And I'm about to start journal number 3. So this was my first one, and I prepared all the pages ahead of time. By that I mean I created the first layer, the background layer, so usually with paint. On this one it was mostly all paint. I went through my container of acrylic paints and just kind of went crazy and slapped them all down all over the place. I did a little bit of collage on that one, that background, but I had prepared all the pages ahead of time. So on this one, I did not. I started with a blank page on each one, and it went very well. I think by that point I had gained some confidence, and I didn't really struggle too much with the blank page syndrome. I just had a lot of fun with that. So there's process and flip through videos for both of those composition art journals. So now I am on my third one. So this was Briley's my daughter's name, community service. She was like in second grade when we were at a homeschool co-op, and so this was her little notebook. And really, she had only worked on like the first couple of pages, and there was nothing really sentimental in it. So I am repurposing it. So I'm going to show you what I've done so far, because I had already started thinking about making a video listing all of the things that I have come up with as material for collage. And I look at collage in two ways. I look at it as materials to create a base layer for art journaling, or to use as more of a focal point or top layer. I'm prepping this composition book with different types of collage. So this is kind of a dual purpose video. I'm showing you the prep work for this journal, and then I'm gonna also give you a list of, I don't know how many, I'll figure that out when I'm done, different ideas that you can use. So the very first on my list are maps. This is just a typical Atlas road map, but you can also use maps like touristy attraction maps or topographic maps. So they'll all have just a little bit of different kind of style to them. I like this one. My mom actually sent me her old atlas after they had finished going on several road trips. So this is her handwriting and has in there too. So what I plan on doing with these pages is covering probably most of it. So the way I like to do a lot of my pages is start with a layer of collage, and usually I don't pick just one thing, but I'll do a combination of maps and other scraps and other materials, and then I will go on to painting next, and with acrylic paints usually. And sometimes I like some of the background to show, and sometimes I don't know, you can cover the whole thing. So anyway, maps is the first page. The second page, these are puzzles. There's crossword puzzles, Sudoku puzzles, and word searches. So another thing to keep in mind when collaging is that you can do it kind of in a more vertical and horizontal way, where everything that I'm cutting is still lining up top to bottom, as opposed to some other ones you'll see here, like this, that is kind of going in every different direction. So this is the next page. These are security envelopes. So the envelopes that you get in the mail that have a pattern lining so that you can't see through them. Maybe there's sensitive information or a check in there or something. So that's my next background page. And this is brown paper packaging that comes like in your Amazon boxes. Now you can use just regular bags, but like grocery sacks are pretty thick, and they're kind of pulpy as far as paper goes. So I think that you'll probably have better luck just sticking with the thinner regular brown paper. And I used Mod Podge for most of my collaging, including the first few that I did, and just regular Elmer's glue stick also on a few of them. I'll try to tell you which I did which, when I did which. So there is like a little bit of a coating on top because of the Mod Podge. So that does limit you from using things like watercolors and sprays because they will stay on top of the surface. But it makes a great surface for acrylic paint and Posca markers and things like that. All right, next is sheet music. So I have a couple of old books of sheet music, and I thought it it's kind of fun. This one was copyright 1939. So a lot of the things that I have used for collage materials I have found at thrift stores. We had a Goodwill outlet bins where they have you buy things like books are like $0.25 or something. I mean, they're just super cheap. But a tornado destroyed it, and so it hasn't been open for a while, but I have a collection of things. Okay, I intentionally have left a few pages in the journal blank with just regular composition paper because I know sometimes I have an idea that I just want to kind of start with a plain white background. So I didn't want to not have any of those options, so I put a couple of them in here. The next is kids' homework. This particular homework is algebra. So these are some problems that my daughter and I worked out during her school time for algebra. Next, I have my grocery lists, my used grocery lists, or shopping lists. So these are, after I used them, I just threw them into a pile or a file folder, and I will show you also how I kind of store and organize all my scraps so they don't get out of hand. So let's see, what did I have? Sugar, turkey bacon, whipped cream, croissant dough, 2 cans, 1 cream of mushroom, which is crazy. I never use cream of mushroom. In fact, I didn't do it. I made homemade stuff. Apples for pie, evaporated milk. That sounds like Thanksgiving. There's another blank page. Okay, next is receipts. It's funny because a lot of times the printing just disappears into the Mod Podge. I'm not really sure. I'm trying to discern. Okay, so you can kind of see how I didn't get all the Mod Podge completely covered right here. And I think that's why. So, but then again here, it didn't fade. So I don't know. It's weird. But I just know that some of them will turn solid white and some of them will still have some information on them. And okay, so the next is just regular book pages. This is from a Bible that was doomed for destruction, so I do use it for collage. And again, you can decide if you want to have your collage material go every which way, or if you want it more organized and, vertical, horizontal kind of thing. So just something to keep in mind when you're collaging. Okay, next I have sewing patterns. Again, I found a couple of those in the Goodwill bins, and I don't sew. So I thought it's a nice kind of transparent material that would make an interesting background. So we'll see what I cover that with. This is an old calendar. So I thought the numbers might make for some interesting detail if I let some of that shine through. Well, maybe I'll do something involving numbers or time or dates or something like that when I create this page. Okay, so this is a napkin attempt, and I was so mad because I saved this particular napkin from a mother-daughter banquet that I went to with my mom like a year ago. I thought it was so pretty with the flowers and the butterflies, and I knew I was going to make a journal page out of it, and I looked at some tutorials, and when I peeled off the napkin, I thought that I had gotten down to the single layer, but when I was Mod Podging and trying to get it down, it kept bubbling up in a couple places, and then I realized that I had not successfully peeled down to a single layer. So there's 2 layers on here. I still made it work, but I think it would have probably laid a little bit nicer on the page had there been a single layer. So I redid it on the next page and made sure I had a single layer. So these are napkins as well that I got from the dollar store. So flamingos. So that should be a fun summary page of flamingos. Okay, next, cookbook. So this is a really, really old cookbook, I think from like the 1950s or 60s. And there is some funny recipes in here, like brains, cook brains. And then, I tore off the edge, but oh my gosh, drain, remove, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm not going to be eating brains of any animals. There's certain animals I don't eat anyway because I don't believe that God created them to be eaten. But even the ones that I do eat, I am not going to eat their brains. Sorry. Okay, so this is a mandala coloring book. So like an adult coloring book. I think that's kind of the category I'd have to put it in. I mean, you can make a subcategory for every kind of coloring book you could find. There's ones in florals and animals and all kinds of different things. But I happen to have one that's a mandala coloring book. So, yeah. And then this time I didn't cover the entire page. I figured I would leave it. Maybe I'm going to do some quotes here or something, but I'm not going to get too crazy ahead of myself there. And I can't tell if this was supposed to be glued together or if it's another blank page. I think this was supposed to be glued together. So I'll probably re-glue that because it came apart. Oh, which brings me to explain that I do glue 2 pages back to back typically. You really don't have to. I just don't want to have a million pages, and it just gives it a little bit more strength so that, yeah, I don't know. But for sure, if you're just going to go directly on the page, I don't want anything to bleed through. So I'll be gluing that. Okay, then I did a second page with the mandala coloring book and left some gaps in between just to kind of, I don't know. We'll see what becomes of that. Kind of excited to work on that. Okay, the next one is gift wrap, or wrapping paper. So my daughter just got some gifts from my mom in the mail. And the wrapping paper is really cool. It has this metallic hearts and shiny sparkly things. And so I've just started the page with some gift wrap. Okay, children's books. So, again, these are things that you find at the thrift store that, maybe they're already kind of damaged or worn out from use, which I love even more because I know that somebody sat and read these books to their kids, and this was one of my favorites as a kid myself. This was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and so I try to kind of preserve some of the scenes, and then you'll see some of them are in black and white and some of them are in colors, so I tried to space out the colors a little bit. And when I go over this page and do something with it, I'll probably try to pull out these colors and incorporate that into the design, but we'll see when I get there. All right, house plans. Again, I found an old magazine with houseplant, like I guess catalog, I don't know what you call it, but a book of houseplants. So before the internet, when everything was in some kind of book or magazine fashion, now all of those things are in the attics or garages of people who are now decluttering and throwing them all in the donate bin, and then they wind up at my house and part of my art journal. Okay. There's a couple little pieces. This one I think I did not Mod Podge. Maybe that's why a few of these came up. But this is one example where I'm all lining them up instead of having them go every which way because there's so many lines. I just thought this is, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Obviously, this is a lot of different houses in this house plan. So wouldn't that be an interesting house if there was this many rooms? Whew, that'd be a lot of rooms. Almost looks like a city from above. Ooh, maybe I'll turn it into a city. Ooh, I don't know. I'm getting ideas. Okay, another blank page and dictionary pages. So I'm listing some types of books separately. Of course, they kind of all fall under the book page category, but I actually didn't realize when I was going through and pulling out pages that I pulled one out that happened to be the marker for the IJ, and chose a few that I think I made sure I had love in there. There's love and loser, forage, jaguar. couple of pictures. I don't know what I will allow to show through, but that's dictionary pages. Next is this is like a manual or a catalog. So it has a lot of charts, and this is from, I believe, 1991. So it was really interesting to see some of the technology that was available then and how much it cost. It was kind of weird. Yeah, so pulling out some charts and diagrams along with some text and here's a catalog with some numbers. So we'll play. Okay, scrapbook paper. So I paper scrapbooked for a long time before I went to digital, as far as keeping my family memories and photos, and I still do that today. But I have a lot of paper scrapbook materials left, and from eons ago. But I also have done other projects, so I just have a collection. So, old scraps. So we'll see what I can do with this page. At first I started doing a lot of different patterns, and I started to collage them, and then I just pulled it off, and I was like, no, I just want to keep it simple, and I want to build on these colors and do something with scrapbook paper. All right, this is masking tape. So I just stretched masking tape vertically across the whole page. So I did that in this journal, and at first I was a little nervous about what I was going to do on top of it, but it turned out really cool, and it feels very leathery. So this is the page I did on masking tape before, and I like it. I like how it turned out. So I'm going to do, that's another option. So I'm just going to do that for this one. Okay, so these are some tea wrappers from tea that I drink. I like Tazo is a good brand, and I like their organic English breakfast, Earl Grey, and chai. So that's that. So I thought I like those colors too, so I figured I'm gonna probably try to match those colors and play with those colors. Typically I just use whatever colors come out of the bottle, but I'm feeling like developing my inner artist a little bit more and playing with colors, so I might try to match these colors and play around with that. We'll see what I can do. All right, these are computer misprints. Some of them, all these goofy ones, are when my computer printer malfunctioned and spit out all this weird, just meaningless stuff. Maybe it means something to my printer, I don't know, but lots of weird symbols. And then I had printed up a list, like a Bible reading list, and then I don't know if I made an extra copy or I decided to do it a different way or something like that. So I don't know. I didn't need it, and so instead of throwing it out, I just used it for some collage materials. So essentially, computer misprints. And that is all that I have started in this journal. Again, I left a couple of blank pages here and there, just in case I got an inspiration that I needed a blank page to start on. I'll also give you some other suggestions for collage materials as well. Okay, so I'm going to show you some other things that are kind of in my list of possibilities. So these are stamps that I collected from over the years. I don't know, quite a bit, actually. So some of them I just kind of tore off of an envelope, like as I received them. And yeah, so those would probably be more focal point collage materials. Like I think that would just kind of like, they'd kind of fall under the ephemera, so there's that. And then the next thing is packaging. So my daughter ordered a t-shirt or something that came with this really cool packaging. It's paper. It even says plastic sucks. So I just loved all the little doodles on there, and I thought that would make for some really cool collage material. So packaging. Okay, the next thing is board game paraphernalia. So here's the game of life. I think it's the Simpsons version. That's Mr. Burns. Uno cards. There's a rook card, some playing cards, which I was going to kind of put playing cards as another one, because that's, you know, a deck of cards. You can always repurpose that and use that within Collage. That's actually a really popular thing to do. Got some old Trivial Pursuit cards. Might be even kind of fun to incorporate some of the trivia in there. Where is Nob Hill? Does anybody know where Nob Hill is? The answer is San Francisco. Okay. So, along with packaging, like this was like a bingo set, I think, that we got one time, and it had little pumpkins to punch out, and I saved them, and I'm actually probably going to use this as a stencil, but you could also just use it as an element on your page. So when you get games, or I don't know, just look at sometimes things come in some really interesting packaging. Games, packaging. This seems kind of silly, but notebook paper, but I wanted to demonstrate what I mean by like handwriting on your notebook paper. Sometimes it's really therapeutic to journal your thoughts, even if you don't want to preserve them. I mean, sometimes we journal things and we want to be able to look back, and other times we just want to use it as a processing exercise. So sometimes I will, write out, even in sloppy writing, write out my thoughts and feelings. And then, just basically just scribble it all down, and then you can tear it up into pieces so it really can't be read, and then collage it onto a page. So that's how I would say use notebook paper, unless I'm just using it as a background and using the lines for that purpose. Okay, so then this would be your pencil or your pen marker priming, where you're just kind of testing your pens and your markers. Scribble Pages. You could, I guess, that you could do that with paints too, and just when you're done with it, you could use that as an element to collage. Yeah. Okay, there's always newspaper. Of course, dealing with newspaper, the ink is going to be kind of, I know sometimes when you're playing with newspaper, you can get it all over your hands. So you have to experiment a little bit with that as far as newspaper goes. So junk mail. Sometimes I get these junk mail and advertisements. I guess I'll include them as two different things. But like advertisements often have some really interesting photography or imagery in it, and you might even be able to borrow like the words from from magazines and advertisements. So I thought like this old typewriter was kind of cool, and this old record player, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna hang on to those for a little while. And then I got this advertisement for, this was Crystal Bridges Art Museum, and they had these really cool displays with all these critters on there, and I thought, well, that could be something that I would use, like more of a focal point kind of collage. And then here's an advertisement for pancake breakfast, and I thought, oh, how cool would it be to have a giant stack of pancakes somehow incorporated on a page. So advertisements. Okay, and then so this would be like more what I mean by junk mail, like flyers and things that you get that you don't really need, or maybe you use them for a few weeks and you write down the events or whatever, and then you don't use them anymore. So this, you could tear that up as collage material. Old bills. They're going to go in the shredder or the recycling bin anyway. Again, I always seem to notice things that have like charts and different things. Now, I will say though that if you do use things with bold colors and you're tearing them up or you're cutting them up in a way and collaging them, be mindful of some of those bold colors that are going to pop out and how you're going to incorporate that into a page. Okay, menus. This is a menu from Lambert's Cafe in Ozark, Missouri. So some of those are, the paper menus that you take home with you that you don't need after a while. You can use that as collage material. All right, this is, I don't know if I was priming or playing with markers, or I think this was actually from one of my kids when they were little. They were just scribbling. So what would we call that? That would be That would be maybe children's artwork that is not precious, of course. And when they're just having fun and they're making marks, well, you could incorporate that into your collage, your page. All right, next is, this is a flattened coffee filter. So you can either get the natural color ones or the white ones, and they're absorbent, so the dyes can kind of bleed into them. But it's an interesting, it's something that you can use. Okay, graph paper. My last composition art journal was from a graph. In fact, these are probably the pages that I tore out of it. So I probably won't be using that for a while, just because that was kind of a base layer that I had in my entire last journal. But it is definitely some collage option. Okay, so I have some folders because I'll do another video sometime and show you how I organize things. But I basically have a bin with some folders, so that way when I come across some things, I can just throw it in a folder. So like soup labels, can labels, my some more of those, and then tags and things that come off, like clothing that you purchase, something like that you could incorporate into your collaging. I should really kind of do this, or call this not just collage material, but like junk journaling material as well. Okay, so these are handmade, and you can hand make, stamp, mark, stencil on whatever background. I think this was a jelly print attempt, and then this is on parchment paper. Or actually, this is really waxy. Yeah, I think it is parchment paper. Book pages and music sheets. I did some more jelly printing on graph paper. This is like seriously like one of the first times I tried it, so it's really bad. Yeah, again, mark making. These were some homemade stamps that I just kind of was practicing, and now it can be used as collage material. In fact, let me grab my other bin full of homemade material. So here's some more on brown paper, and I have lots of homemade pages now. Here, I'll move this out of the way. One of my favorites is this one, so I'll incorporate that. I like I love my metallic paints, but I like how it kind of blended there. Yeah, but these will be easy to tear up. So these are the kind of things that I would say are more like focal point things. Like I would probably not want to cover it up again, but I don't know. Okay, so these are other previous art fails or things that I might not really want to use. Like I think I was experimenting with jelly prints, and I was experimenting with like scraping, and I don't know. It was just playing, but I didn't really do anything with it. And so now I just have it in a folder, and yeah, now I can. So failed attempts. Pages that you don't really like, which normally I would, in my composition notebook, I don't really tear them out or get rid of them. I just move on. But I was definitely in an experimental phase here in this particular notebook art journal. So yeah, so I might use these in collage. Yeah. This actually, I don't know if I want to tear this up. I might try to incorporate this back in as a focal point. So I did all of this at some point. That was a lot of detail. A lot of detail. Maybe I should just put that in one of my journals to preserve, because I think that's kind of cool. I've kind of gotten away from spiral journals. I still have a few of them to kind of finish up and fill up. But yeah, these were pretty cool. Some snippets. Oh, these were from a masterboard that I did in my last art journal. So I had a few of the pieces left so that I can reuse them in future. Okay, at index cards, I had seen somebody kind of doing like a whole series of artwork on index cards, and I was starting to prep and play around with them, and I just discovered really quickly like it's just not my jam. So, but I can definitely reuse those and even use regular index cards for collaging. All right, tissue papers. These are the kind of tissue papers that come, like, it's not exactly gift wrap, but like sometimes when you order something, it comes wrapped up in these tissue papers. So it's kind of like gift wrap, I suppose. Yeah, like this is well, it's tissue paper, not gift wrap. So some of it's decorative. These came in a shoebox. Relaxed fit. Fida. So, tissue. Donuts. Okay, so those are 53 items that you can use as collage material or in your junk journals or your art journals or whatever you want to use them for. I'm sure there are many more things. I would love to have you add to this list down below in the comments. What else do you use for collage material or junk journaling? Okay, I just came up with 8 more that I didn't show you, but here they are. Also, I wanted to mention that you can take a screenshot if you want on the last page and this page if you want to refer to the list later. Okay, real quick, I'll just read through these. The coffee table books or art books, magazines, paint sample strips, stickers, old journals, greeting cards, watercolor paper, and party decorations. So there's just a couple more for you to add to your list. I hope that you found this video helpful and that you'll come back and hang out with me again. This is kind of an atypical video for me. I usually just do art and show you my process. So I'm going to be excited to dig into my next composition art journal. And so I hope that you'll come back and hang out with me again. Until then, have a blessed day and go make some art.